Basically, today we're just going to be talking about Wayofest this year. It was almost a month ago now, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. 3 weeks, something like that. I don't know. Had some great talent this year. A lot of things were done differently. This is we had 2 stages. A lot of great bands, though. Even though we had 2 stages, we cut it back a little bit. And we had a lot less bands than what we had last year. Last year, we just went way overboard. You weren't there, so you don't know.
I saw pictures.
But yeah, we went way overboard. We had 1 stage, and I don't know. We made some mistakes here and there. We make mistakes every year, so I mean, I'm not really disappointed on that end. Like, I don't really look at anything as a failure. I look at it as something that we could learn from and build on. So we're planning on doing things a lot differently next year, heading into it'll be year number 4 next year.
That's
Can you believe that?
A lot.
Yeah, and I mean, we're still not where we would like to be, but I think we have steadily made improvements. I don't know, what's your take on what went down this year at Wayofest?
What I heard before and saw a lot of different pictures and stuff, I think it got better each year. I mean, there's different things that went better and different things that didn't go better, but I think this year went pretty well. I liked it this year.
Well, the obvious thing I think is, last year we had a lot of great bands. We had a lot of people show up, but there was no flow. There's absolutely no flow. Changeover times in between sets was just atrocious. I mean, you can't have half-hour, 45-minute changeover times when you've only got 1 stage. And I think that hurt us a lot. We changed locations this year, so instead of having it in Warren at Dave Grohl Alley, we moved it all the way onto the boonies over in Lowellville. I mean, I think that might have hurt us a little bit, too. We didn't have a humongous crowd, but the way I look at it, though, is it was a good practice run as far as getting our flow, bouncing back and forth between the 2 stages.
2 stages is definitely a lot better, and it all depends on your stage managers, too. If you don't have somebody running it correctly, you just got bands running wild, and they don't care. They just do their thing and just take up as much time as possible. But if you get somebody running it, they really know what they're doing and get them off stage on time, and that makes a huge difference in this type of venue.
And, we had, you were running stage number 1. I was bouncing back and forth between the 2 stages. And we had Martin and, what was his name, Dan?
I don't know.
The guys from Zombie Crutch, the singer and the drummer.
I go by stage names. Don't ask me real names. I feel like that guy over there with the tattoos. He's in charge.
I think his name was Dan. But, yeah, those guys did a fantastic job. They busted their asses all day long. And, I really didn't have a whole lot of faith in Tom as far as running things, but he really impressed me. He put together a hell of a show. The Village of Lowellville did a great job of backing us quite a bit financially, and really, I mean, I feel like the only thing I really did this year was book the bands, book the sound equipment, and I didn't do a whole lot. I did a little bit of social media promoting.
You slacked.
I did.
You just sat back in your recliner with your feet up and let them run it.
But no, Tom did a fantastic job. He booked the venue, and the Village of Lowellville did a hell of a lot. They put together a lot. They got the stages, they got the alcohol, the food vendors. They paid for the insurance and just everything that we needed. They backed it. So, they did a great job there. I don't know if we're going to be back there again next year. We are looking at the possibility of a few other places.
All I'm asking for is promotional sunscreen.
You know what? We should get, a company that makes sunscreen to sponsor us next year.
Yes.
But I want to talk about the bands, though. We had a lot of great bands. I keep mentioning all the great bands that we had. We brought some back from last year. We brought one back from the first year. They were unfortunately were unable to make it last year. Token, They came out and they put on a hell of a show. And I really got to hand it to these bands that did play. You know, some bands will get there and they'll start loading in, and they'll look out at the crowd and they'll see that there's nobody there, and they're just going to half-ass it through their set. Every single band that played that day gave it their all. They're 100%. Even Hellfire Club, you know, it was dark once they got up on stage. We had minimal lighting, and they still put on a tremendous performance. You know, and I give a lot of credit to those guys, you know, John and Chuck and Jason and can't remember all their names. I'm terrible with names. I've met those guys 1,000 times. I can't remember all
That's
their names.
not good, because I'm not good with names either, as we've covered.
Hellfire Club, they were the headliner. They did fantastic. Even Kevlar, our national act, came from out of town. They were from Erie.
They went all out. They set up their merch booth, everything,
Yeah.
and they had people. What didn't you say? There was somebody that was like buying autograph stuff before they even went on stage.
Yeah, there was some people buying stuff and getting an autograph before they even went on, which was cool. And you know, they had such a great time, and even with such a small crowd, they said they would love to be back next year, and we'd love to have them back next year.
Yeah, everybody did great with it. I think they all put their all into it. There wasn't anybody that I was like, yeah, I don't want them back next year.
One thing that we definitely did that I thought was pretty cool. No one else was really as excited about it as I was, but the opening act, the drummer is the son of the lead singer of the headlining act. I thought that was a really cool thing, like the father-son thing going on there. You know,
like they're gonna open it and they're gonna close it.
Yeah, it was really awesome. And John Lane the Fourth, he stuck around all day, and that boy was red when he left.
Oh yeah, I think he was worse than me. He literally was standing there like, I'm not gonna move because this hurts.
He looked like he was hanging out in the sun all day. I mean, we had a lot of great bands. Who else played? Well, who played after? Who played after?
Oh,
them?
don't ask me order, but you had was it Shaving Lincoln and
B&O
Zombie
Marks.
Crunch.
B&O Marks was the second one. It was Anthony Ciosi from Token and his girlfriend Miranda. I can't remember how to pronounce her last name, but they called themselves B&O Marks. They did an acoustic thing. It was really cool. And then we did something else a little bit different this year. This is the first time we had a cover band. And a lot of people have different feelings on cover bands. I mean, there's some people that absolutely hate cover bands, and they hate how they make more money than the original bands. And I could just go on and on. You know, we had Hollywood and Ezzo on the show last year talking about the whole cover band thing, and then Mike Kermit came on and was defending the cover bands, and you know, people feel different ways about it. I have mixed feelings about it.
It's nice to have it in there with those, because it breaks it up.
See, my whole thing on booking a cover band is, you know, is it going to draw attention away from the originals? You know, is it going to hurt our credibility? And I don't think it does at all if you mix it up enough. You know, we had one cover band. It worked. It went over very well, and they were local kids, too. They were all from Louisville, which is really cool. I liked kind of, you know, because Louisville's a small town. It's kind of out of the way. It's still in the Youngstown area, but it's kind of out there, like right on the PA border. So I didn't really know how it was going to go over, so I wanted to get some local boys in there. You know, we couldn't get Highland Rose this year. They're all from Louisville. But we got the locals, and they were awesome, you know, and their music was all over the place. I mean, they started off with a Chili Peppers song. Didn't they throw in an Adele song at some point?
Yeah, I think they did.
They did some old blues. I know they did. Didn't they do Blue on Black?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
yes,
they did Blue on Black.
It was all over the place, but it was like a good all over the place, because everything they did worked out and it flowed real well.
They had two lead singers, a guy and a girl. I mean, they worked together very well. Yeah, it was different. I liked it, and you know, I'd definitely like to have another cover band next year. I mean, you know, for next year, I just want to do it up. You know, I just want to keep getting bigger and bigger with it. You know, next year I'd like to have some of the biggest drawing bands in town there. Like I would definitely love to have the Huck and Philbillies there. Jones for Revival, I think, would be great. Kind of mix it up. We've never had a jam band quite like them. I mean, we've had Antics there 2 years now, and they're kind of jam bandy. But I would love to get Jones for Revival there. They're huge, and they just draw a great crowd. So
does Huck and Philbillies.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you're getting Jimmy there, you're gonna have to have his Fireball, or he's not gonna show up.
Yeah. And then we had the guys from Shaving Lincoln back again. They've kind of been there since the beginning. Joe and Allie, when they were in Amnesty for Astronauts, they headlined Macabre Fest, which was year one, and they've put in a lot of work. Joe did most of the booking for the first year, and as far as promoting goes, they are incredible at promoting just around the clock. Joe and Allie are always on Facebook, just promoting every local show that they come across, and they do a lot of work behind the scenes with Wayofest as well. And then, of course, Tom.
Even during the show, they're running around, like, any second they had free, they're running around with CDs and everything else.
And Allie made our buttons this year, which is great. I want to thank her again for that. Thank you, Allie. That was awesome.
Those were really nice.
Yeah. Still got a few left, actually. I think we're going to try to get rid of those next year. And then Token, of course, came back. There was a scheduling conflict last year, and they weren't able to make it. They were kind of disappointed about it, but we got them back this year, and they're just a fun band, And for being as young as they are, they're into really cool music. A lot of these kids are into. I don't want to sound like the old curmudgeon here, but
put your walker away.
But I mean. A lot of these younger bands are into just garbage music. They either want to be as poppy as can be, or they want to be as weird as can be. And I like.
Speaking of weird, okay, what was it? Terrafractal?
We'll get into that.
Yeah,
but I personally I like some experimental music. I like a big anthemic chorus type music. But fun music like that's Token. Like they got like a southern rock and blues and metal and all this mixed in. They started off their set with "Born to Be Wild," which was really cool.
They did really well with that one.
For young kids, they like really cool music. And their singer was wearing a Pantera T-shirt.
Can't beat that.
Yeah, like I said, for young guys, they're into really cool music, which I like. And of course, Terrafractal. Just as soon as those guys started playing, everyone was just coming up to me like, "I love these guys. We got to get these guys at this show and this show and this show." And they're the one. They're like what I was talking about. Like the young kids are into like the really weird music. That's these guys.
They're so much fun though. So much fun.
Well, I mean, no offense to Todd, Drew, and Dean. I love you guys. You guys are my boys, but they're nerds who get up and do nerdy stuff with musical instruments.
But they make it work. I don't think anybody else could make it work the way that they do. I could not see that working.
I mean...
But it was great.
You look at these guys, and... they don't even look like a band, They just look like these weird kids that are going to be, like, standing in the corner all day playing hacky sack and shit, It's like they saw an open stage, ran up, grabbed the instruments, go, "We're going to play this shit right now!" Yeah, and, they got a drummer and two bass players who... Bass players share the vocal duties. And it's just really bizarre music. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I think the way that they do it, it's a little different because they're fun. You got these weird experimental bands like Flaming Lips, bands of that nature that just get up there and they play weird fucking music and they're so serious about it. And you can't be serious if you're playing weird music like that.
You have to have fun with it for it to work, and that's exactly what they do. Yeah,
which is it's really cool. I like it. They're just a fun group of guys all around too, and Dean was there last year with his old band Zero Set Memory, who he is no longer with, and Dean was there doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff too. Went to all the meetings and stuff, and doing the hippie thing and picking up trash off the ground, which was really cool. So, all right, we had to do a meeting last year for Wayofest sometime in May. It was at Packard Music Hall, and then we had another meeting at the Fine Arts Council of Trumbull County later that day. So we kind of carpooled down there. It was me, Dean, Herb, and Tori. We all went down there, and we just parked at Dave Grohl Alley, walked down to the Fine Arts Council, and he just kept picking up trash all along the way. And just until you find a trash can, he's just got 2 armloads of trash.
I thought for sure you were going to tell me he's like making like an outfit or jewelry or some shit out of it.
He was pitching the trash, which was really cool.
You're going to get him like one of those pokey sticks.
Yeah, that's Dean. He's just a good dude. And yeah, they're just a fun band, though. And I like those guys. And we tried to get them on last year at the last minute. And it's a good thing we didn't because we were overbooked anyways at that time. But glad we got them on this year. They were actually a last-minute addition as well. I believe they came in when Baroque Monody dropped out for whatever reason. David G. Ward was supposed to play again this year, but had a family emergency. We didn't end up actually filling his set, which really to me was, I mean, it was cool. Like, it gave us a little more wiggle room in there for times, but I don't know. Even with him not being there, we were still right on time. So I don't know how things would have gone if he would have actually been there. So I don't know if we would have been running late somewhere. I don't know.
I know there was a couple of the bands that we let them
play a little bit longer. Yeah,
little bit of people we had at the time, they really were going and into it, so we let them kind of get a little bit more leeway and go a little longer. So I think if they were right on time, we would have been able to fit it in, but it worked out anyway.
And I had Kevlar down for like an hour-long set, and I think they only played 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I went over on my set a little bit too.
Always a troublemaker.
Well, I did that because we had more time and Hellfire wasn't done setting up yet, so I played a little bit longer. But we had Antics back this year. Love those guys. Those guys are great. We owe them quite a bit because, once again, the last minute we had sound issues. Not going to go into a whole lot of detail about that, but we had sound issues and ended up having to part ways with the sound company that we were going to use. So here we are like 2-3 days before the fest, and it's like, shit, we have 2 stages and no sound. So I had the guys from Antics let us use their practice PA, and then we rented a PA from Hubbard. And it worked out. I mean, the acoustics down there were great, so really all we did was mic the vocals and whatever samples any bands had and stuff like that, and it worked. I don't think it sounded any different. Nobody really came to me and said that the sound was weird because the instruments weren't mic'd. I mean, from a musician standpoint, I thought it sounded great. I thought the sound was fantastic. We had, I was running sound on stage 1. Martin and Dan were running sound on stage 2, and I thought it worked out pretty good.
It sounded good. It seemed to go pretty smoothly.
I mean, it's not something I would do unless I was absolutely desperate to the point where I needed to run sound that way. I mean, I wouldn't recommend like a club, being cheap and just running vocals through their PA, but I mean, for what we had to work with, it worked out pretty good. And the guys from Antics hooked us up with their PA, so we kind of owe them for that. Even if they wouldn't have let us use the PA, I'd probably invite them back next year because they're just a great group of guys.
They are, yeah. I got along real well with them. They put on a good show too.
That was the first time I'd seen them in, probably about 6 months. Changed a few things up. They're down to just one guitar player now. They got a different bass player. Nave is playing out too during their set, which is really cool. They still got the 2 guys rapping, Nave and Colt, which is really awesome. I like that. I like that they're bringing back the rap rock sort of thing, but then they add in elements of jam band style music with some blues and jazz and reggae and that sort of stuff. They're a good festival band.
They're not a mix you normally would like say, hey, we're going to put this, that, and the other together and be like, yeah, that's not going to work. But with them, they make it work and it sounds really
And they covered an Afro Man song, which is really cool.
You are set on that song.
that was really cool. You know, that doesn't happen every day.
They did do well with that. I got to give you that.
Yeah.
They did do well with that, but they did real good all around.
We, of course, had Zombie Crutch. Can't forget about those guys. Those guys are the real deal. I mean, a lot of people in Youngstown don't know about them. I think it's just their singer that's from this area. Well, he's not really actually originally from this area either. He's actually from San Antonio, Texas, originally. Lives in this area, though. He's not their original singer. He's a replacement singer, I guess you could say. But those guys are the real deal. They definitely, I mean, the keyboardist and the guitarist are older guys that you could tell have been playing for many, many years. They've got equipment and lighting and stage costumes and makeup, and they do it all up real big. Like, they really play up the whole zombie thing, which is really cool. And I don't even know what you could classify them as. They got a lot of electronics in their music.
There's not really a classification for them.
It's not really
One
industrial.
of those bands that are like, hey, they're awesome. We don't know where to put them, but they're awesome, and everybody should go see them.
I mean, it's not really industrial. It's got an 80s goth sort of vibe to it, but it's heavier, and Martin's kind of a metal singer.
Still can't believe that voice comes out of him.
But yeah, those guys are really cool. They do their own thing in the summer too. They got a festival they do out in Burton, Ohio, which is where they practice. And it's just a weekend long camping trip, and they got bands that play, and it's just a whole weekend of just drinking and listening to music. And I actually promised those guys that I would help out putting that together this year. It's next month. You remember the dates on that?
14th, 15th, and 16th,
somewhere
around there.
Yeah.
Whatever that weekend is.
Yeah, whatever
the weekend that has the 15th in it. Don't ask me days. I can't remember what I did yesterday.
I think it might be 12th, 13th, 4th, something like that. Whatever that weekend
There is a 15 in there. I know there is.
But yeah, they're doing that, and as soon as I know all the details, I'll get that out. But yeah, who else played?
Oh,
I think we covered everything. Well, Kevlar. I mean, we really didn't get into Kevlar. They're a talented young band. They are. They're probably. I think they're their early 20s, maybe. Somewhere around there.
Something like that. When they were setting up, the type of music that came out of them, I was not, looking at them, I wasn't expecting what I heard, but it was still awesome. It was just wait a minute, that's what they're doing? And the fact that it was a girl singer, and she just did awesome.
Yeah, Kelsey's fantastic, and not only is she a great singer and songwriter, she's got a lot of stage presence. That whole band.
Oh yeah, that was my first thought on her.
Jake, their guitar player, is just incredible. To look at these kids, you look at them and you're like, okay, it's just gonna be some emo band, and they get up there and it's a different sort of sound than what you'd expect by looking at them. It's one of those situations where you really gotta say you can't judge a book by its cover, because they don't look like the kind of music they're playing. It's kind of metal, but it's kind of still got that emo vibe, but yet, they throw in some old school thrash style riffs, and it's just very all over the place, but it's very high energy though. Their live performances are just incredible. I've seen them numerous times. I've seen them, saw them at the Agora a few months ago, opening up for Davey Suicide. Saw them last year, the benefit that I emceed for Josie from LA Knights. They played, and I was just blown away. That was the first time I saw them. They're just an incredible band. I like seeing them play, and they definitely got a future in the business if they keep going at the pace that they're going at. And they tour all over the place. A week before they did Wayofest, they had just gotten back from Florida. Well, they did like a whole East Coast thing actually, and then they were up in New York for a little bit. But yeah, they toured all over the place. They got a couple records out, so definitely check them out. Kevlar, they're an incredible band.
The Jeep Celebration event is here, which means great deals on the SUVs built to stand the test of time are waiting. Hurry in before time runs out. FCA vehicle owners financing at $4,750 total cash allowance on select 2020 Grand Cherokee Laredo 4x4 models in dealer stock the longest. On oldest 20% inventory of 2020 Grand Cherokee Laredo models as of 3/3/2020 in dealer stock. Current vehicle must be registered for 30 days. Financing for well-qualified buyers through Chrysler Capital. Residency restrictions apply. Take retail delivery by 3/31/2020. Jeep is a registered trademark.